Hello FishDuck friends, Kurt here, co-owner of FishDuck.com. Welcome to another episode of the FishDuck Video Podcast. This week I wanted to have a conversation with one of our own, Jared Sawyer, FishDuck writer. You can catch his articles every Monday, and you probably know Jared pretty well already. If you're an Oregon fan and you're online, no doubt you know Jared. He's very well known, he's very vocal, he's very passionate about his ducks, and he produced the O-Time music video that probably a lot of you actually appeared in. So, without further ado, let's welcome in Jared Sawyer. I first wanted to talk to you because you and I both, born and raised in Oregon, lifetime Oregon fans, grew up going to games in the rain and the cold and some of the misery of just brutal blowouts. These days now, all we know is success. And it's an awesome time to be an Oregon fan. And, you know, with the Rose Bowl, first Rose Bowl victory in 95 years, you know, it's an unbelievable time to be an Oregon fan. But for us, having grown up with it, it seems like it means a little bit more compared to the kids who, you know, maybe all they know is like Joey Harrington forward.
Right.
What does it mean to you knowing that now Oregon are Rose Bowl champions with all the games that we saw growing up going 3-8, 4-7, you know?
Yeah. You know, it took a little bit to sink in. You know, watching the game, unfortunately, I wasn't able to be in Pasadena with my friends and you and everybody else, but you know, there's that moment where you're kind of like, wait a minute, the game's over? We won. I'm expecting to walk away from it stunned and not wanting to talk for the next 48 hours like I did last year in the BCS and the year before that in Pasadena. And it's one of those things where it's still sinking in. I mean, here we are, we're getting to the end of January, and it's starting to sink in. Man, we won the Rose Bowl. Like, this is amazing. My uncle Colin works for OSN. He sent me a picture this morning of him at Matt Night with the Rose Bowl trophy, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is really happening. Like, this is that step that we just weren't ever able to get over. So to answer your question though, as far as being Rose Bowl champions, with the exception of Joey's year when we won the Fiesta Bowl, to me this actually means quite a bit more. This is the Pac-12, former Pac-10, Big Ten with 12 teams, whatever. But this is that rivalry, that conference. And I mean, the last time before this, we played Ohio State and Terrell Pryor had the game of his life. Time before that, I was 10 years old and we were in Pasadena. I remember being there and Penn State walked all over us. And so it's just like, this is finally the tipping point, I feel like, for the program. Chip Kelly's done an incredible job in recruiting and starting, you know, a whole new trend at Oregon that Mike Bellotti really kind of ushered in. And because of that, this is that last step, I think, to kind of propel us to the elite status of the conferences and with all the teams. But what this means to me personally, I mean, I can't really even fully articulate or put into words what a win like this means. It's almost 100 years in the making. It's something that my dad's generation, my grandma's generation never even saw. And so for me to be, you know, the age I am, living here in Oregon, getting to see that, means more to me than I could possibly ever put into words.
And everything that's been done with Nike and the facilities and the great recruiting and the stability in the coaching staff for years, it's just a validation that Oregon has now reached that upper echelon and can compete with the traditional powers across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's any denying that. I mean, you look at the last 3 years in particular. You have the Rose Bowl, lost to what was probably one of the best Ohio State teams we've seen in the last decade. Lost last year to Auburn, which is their once in a 100-year fluke.
Wrist.
Yeah. I don't think I get into it. And then last year to a Wisconsin team that was fantastic. I mean, that Wisconsin team was. I mean, their offensive line was bigger than the Green Bay Packers. I mean, so you look at a team like that. And it's no longer about, oh, we're this little Pac-10, Pac-12 school that can't compete, but we look really cute in our uniforms. This is, we're going to go out and hand your butt to you, and you better be ready because we're going to hit you right in the mouth. And you got guys like DeWitt Stuckey and Kiko Alonso on defense that are just nightmares for guys to deal with. Yeah, you have a Deion Jordan coming off the end at Mach 10, and it's a lot for these big, bulky offensive linemen in the college level to have to deal with it. The pros, it's a little bit different, but Oregon's stepping up. It's kind of a weird feel, and what's interesting is you have a quarterback like Darren Thomas all of a sudden peace out to the NFL. You have Michael James, which we all kind of knew was going to go to the pros, and then entire national, attention and perception of Oregon is, oh, they're going to reload. Like, yeah, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Back to growing up with it, there were times when Oregon was able to field good teams. I think back to, say, 87, 88, when those teams were on the up and up. Bill Musgrave was throwing the ball all over the field, and then one guy would get hurt, and the entire season would fall apart. They'd have the great first line, and they could compete with anybody. I believe it was 88 where the team started off 6-1 on the year. And by the end of the season, they're on their 5th string quarterback, or they've got Tony Hargain taking snaps as a wide receiver.
2008, just kind of foreshadowed, yeah.
Yeah. And in a way, it was almost kind of thinking back on the 2007 season, how things started off so great, and then injuries started happening, and the team just limped their way into the bowl game at the end. But, that was almost every year back in the day. They'd have a great first line, they could compete, one guy would go down, and the depth just wasn't there.
I don't care what you said, Justin Roper's still my dog.
Hey, I loved his performance in the Sun Bowl. I mean, that was awesome.
It was good.
But, the depth just was never there before to be able to handle the ongoing struggles of the entire season. It is to the fans, it feels like it's a short season. To the players, it's a long season.
Yeah, well, I mean, their season starts now. I mean, you talk to some of the players, they're running routes, they're lifting, they're training. Their mental preparation, I mean, you could just see on Twitter and Facebook, literally the day they got back to Oregon, they were working out. They understand what it takes now, and that's the difference, is there's no off season. It's the season. It's just some part of that season you're playing in the games. They understand the mental preparation and what it really takes to win a championship. They know how close you can be to being undefeated or not be.
Right.
And they know what it takes to do that. I think Oregon's gonna absolutely demolish some teams this next season. And in a lot of ways, I feel we might actually have the best team you've ever seen coming in here 2012, 2013. So the focus is in the right place. And like you said with the depth, that's the neat thing about what's happening right now, is it's like, you have a guy like Darren Thomas go out for a couple games, Brian Bennett steps right up and is as effective, if not more effective than him.
Didn't miss a beat.
You have LaMichael James go out, Kenyon Barner and DeAnthony Thomas and Trey Carson step in, and you're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like you said, when Dixon went down against Arizona, I mean, you had Leaf come in and he was just completely ineffective against anything.
Well, he got hurt too.
Right.
And then we were down to 2 true freshmen, Cody Kempt and Justin Roper, and they held the ship going, but those are guys who are fresh out of high school, and suddenly they're expected to carry the boat when everyone else on the team is hurt too.
Right.
It just they're
so yeah, like you said, I think depth is really more key than anything else these days. Is you look at our quarterback position. Yeah, I mean, there's 4 guys on the roster that could start next year and be effective and lead Oregon to another Pac-12 championship and maybe a national championship or another Rose Bowl victory. So, I mean, they have established themselves not only as a force to be reckoned with, but we're going to reload every season. Come and get us.
Well, let's talk about the Ducks that are leaving for the NFL. Obviously, Darren Thomas's choice to leave raised some eyebrows, but the Ducks are going to be okay. LaMichael James, we knew that was going to be an inevitability. He leaves as probably the greatest Duck to ever don a uniform in Eugene. Based statistically,
I don't have any argument with that. I mean, what he's done has been incredible. So yeah,
I don't think the Ducks are really going to miss a beat. The media may overreact. Oh, what is Oregon going to do without LaMichael James? What are they going to do without Darren Thomas? Brian Bennett proved himself this past season, and at the same time, Marcus Mariota, all we hear is glowing reviews about Marcus Mariota.
He's done the best athlete ever to play in the state of Hawaii, come out of Hawaii. I mean, you look at a lot of the athletes that have come out of Hawaii and you go, really? And then you watch some of his highlight film from high school and you go, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
And it's neat to see Oregon starting to pick recruits like that out of Hawaii again. There was a while where we didn't get any. And so for us to be able to start doing that again is really, really crucial. I think it's really special. It's really special to have a season like this. And in a lot of ways, as much as I love DT and he's a good guy, and as much as I got over him putting his horns up every chance he had, like having the ability to make someone step up and be a leader for this team other than Darren is really, really, really strong. I mean, you look at Bennett, he's got another 2 years of eligibility. Mariota has 3 or 4. So both these guys right now have the ability to step up and be leaders for this team for the next few years and really set the pace and set the tone.
Oregon fans these days are a little spoiled in that we expect to win every single game. And that's an awesome thing, to go into every single game saying, yeah, Oregon's going to win. Come on, of course Oregon's going to win. Because we remember the days of, 80s, 90s, watching the Washington Huskies and Trojans.
I've really tried to put that out of my memory, Kurt.
Right, right. But it's a different time, and that's awesome. With the raised expectations, though, that Oregon's going to win every game, is also the raised expectation that every athlete is going to perform flawlessly every time. And it was interesting how anytime that Darren, overthrew somebody or underthrew somebody or made, a wrong decision, people were screaming, bench him! Bring in Brian Bennett. Yeah. And the old joke is that the backup quarterback is always the most popular guy on any football team. But I had to just stop sometimes and think, do you guys even realize how lucky we are to be Oregon fans right now?
Seriously.
To see all that we're seeing take place on the football field, having the most innovative head coach and this great stability in the coaching. We've had guys at the coaching staff for 20 plus years. Teams don't get that.
If Oregon fans need a reality check, next fall, take a trip up 40 minutes to Corvallis and go check out a Beaver game at the 15,000 fans they have in their stadium, watching teams like, who was it, UC Davis this last year? Or was it
Sacramento State?
Sac State compete against the Beavers, control the ball game, and then beat them on their home field. That's what it used to feel like, Duck fans. Like, that's what it used to be for us. And we'd have a team come in like Fresno State or Utah State or Grambling or some obscure team, and we'd be like, man, I really hope our guys show up today. Like, this could be embarrassing.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen anymore. The expectation to win is though. The days of being worried if we're gonna win or not, they're gone. I mean, the expectations to win, but the bar's also been raised. I mean, you win 3 conference titles in a row, slated to win one again this year, as well as possibly go to a national championship and win a Rose Bowl. That bar is pretty high. I can't think of too many teams in any other conference, maybe other than the SEC with LSU coming back this year, that have those kind of expectations for their program. I mean, that's asking a lot. And the funny thing is, it's tangible. We can do it. So Duck fans need to understand that if you forget where you came from, none of this means anything.
Right.
That's how I feel about it. But.
Right. That's why we spend a lot of time focusing on history on FishDuck.com. Well, Jared Sawyer, thank you for joining us for the FishDuck Video Podcast. Keep checking back every Monday for Jared's articles on the site. And as always, go Ducks.
Go Ducks.